Border Patrol sending out a grim warning for those looking to cross into the U.S., the dangerous trends seen in recent months, and what's pushing more people to take a potentially deadly risk.
More than 20 degrees colder than this time yesterday. We'll show you the impact to your New Year's Eve plans, plus a warm-up before an even bigger temperature drop.
An overnight tragedy leaving dozens of Austinites starting the new year without a home. The aftermath of an intense apartment fire and how you can help your neighbors get back on their feet. Around 30 people have been forced out of their homes after an overnight fire at an apartment complex in South Austin. It happened at the iconic at South First Apartments. That's on South First Street. And paramedics took 3 children to the hospital for treatment for smoke inhalation. Our Jayla Washington reports.
Pablo Luis picks up his 4-month-old baby girl, trying to stay strong for her and his entire family.
Pues yo estaba dormido, como siempre nos vamos a dormir, y mi esposa me dice, levántate que se está quemando.
He, his wife, and 3 kids ran out as this scorching fire blazed through at least 4 units on 2 floors of the iconic South First Apartments, according to the Austin Fire Department.
We don't have power. We don't have electricity.
The assistant chief says a dozen other apartments have smoke and water damage.
Numerous 911 calls, very chaotic. There was so much fire initially. We're very lucky that no one was injured worse than they are. We're lucky that everybody was able to escape.
That escape a relief. But this is the aftermath. Workers boarding up apartments and securing charred buildings as nearly 30 families are out of a place they called home, heading into the new year.
Sí, exactamente el día del año nuevo. Pues no sé ni dónde voy a pasar año nuevo ahora sí.
And hours after the fire,
¿Cómo se siente?
Pablo Luis and his family for now use his car as shelter, just thankful to be alive. Jayla Washington, KXAN News.
And it's still unclear how that blaze started. Austin Fire believes it started in a vacant unit. We are waiting to hear back from them about that, the apartment complex. The Red Cross says so far it's working with 3 families who have nowhere to go. And they're asking people, those who still need help, to reach out. We've got that information on KXAN.com. Going in depth, although renter's insurance is not required by law here in Austin, it's still a good idea to make sure you are covered in case of disasters such as an apartment fire. And the Texas Department of Insurance says your landlord might require it as part of your lease agreement, and it will protect your belongings from theft, fires, and water damage. On average, renter's insurance costs about $20 a month.
First warning weather with Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannon.
Let's take you to our covert Bee Cave Auto Mall camera there in Bee Cave with full sunshine, but still a little bit of a lingering breeze. You can see the flag still moving around, that northerly wind, roughly between 5 to 10 miles per hour. A little stronger at times, nothing as strong as it was earlier today or yesterday, but it's continuing to usher in the chillier air compared to yesterday. We're in the mid-60s right now in Austin, a lot of middle and lower 60s across the area. Down in Luling, you're at 67, a little warmer, but a huge temperature drop over this time yesterday. Most of us near 20 degrees colder than we were 24 hours ago. Skies will be clear and temperatures will fall as we head into your New Year's Eve night. 59 at 7, 52 at 9, 48 here by 11. Coming up in First Warning Weather, we'll take you through that New Year's Eve overnight forecast and to the first day of 2025 as we gradually warm up ahead of a much colder weather pattern that sets up for next week.
All right, Nick, thank you so much. Border Patrol agents are seeing more migrants suffering from harsh conditions, and they are issuing a warning for those who are considering crossing over into the U.S. The El Paso sector of U.S. Border Patrol says 23 migrants died in the last 4 months due to dangerous conditions such as freezing temperatures. Just last year, Border Patrol rescued 980 migrants suffering from frostbite and hypothermia. Border agent Claudio Herrera says the majority of them are from warmer southern countries, and so far this year agents have saved 177 migrants.
They don't have the step temperatures. They're not used to them. And of course, multiple times they're not wearing the proper clothes to be walking in the desert or stuff like that.
According to Border Patrol, one factor that leads migrants to these situations is transnational criminal organizations that smuggle and exploit them. The El Paso sector says nearly 200 migrants died last year due to illegal smuggling. Going in depth, President-elect Donald Trump is heading into his second term with a list of day one priorities, among them mass deportations of undocumented migrants. Trump is assigning the task to incoming border czar Tom Homan, who warns anyone trying to impede deportation efforts.
Guess what? They're getting arrested too. So you'll get exactly what you don't want, more arrests in your communities.
And soon after President Joe Biden took office, immigration officials no longer detain families crossing the border illegally. Homan tells NBC News the great majority lose their case for asylum but don't leave. And now detention centers are back on the table. As for separating families, Homan suggested undocumented parents will be deported with their children. Digging a little deeper here, President Joe Biden signed a new law just last week ensuring the U.S. government keeps a close eye on spending at the border. The law requires more congressional oversight over border security contracts, and the president signed what's called the Common Sense Law in order to cut costs and improve goods and services for Border Patrol agents. Another potential port strike is looming on the horizon as we get ready to ring in the new year. You'll remember back in October, the International Longshoremen's Association went on strike for 3 days. It temporarily paralyzed 36 ports along the east and Gulf coasts, including right here in Texas. Those posts reopened days after a tentative deal was reached, but that deal expires on January 15th. As that deadline approaches, a new agreement will need to be reached or another strike could begin. If another strike starts, it could have major implications across the country in just a matter of weeks. Dock workers along the east and Gulf coasts are now looking for a fair contract, higher pay, and to stop port automation. The Carter Center announced plans for the state funeral of former President Jimmy Carter, and those plans include stops in his hometown of Plains, Georgia, Atlanta, and Washington, D.C. It will also include a pause at his childhood farm home in Plains, a motorcade, and a pause at the Georgia State Capitol. That will be followed by a public viewing from throughout this weekend for those in Georgia. After that, there will be a procession to Washington, D.C., followed by a service at the U.S. Capitol and a funeral at the Washington National Cathedral. Meanwhile, tributes continue to pour in at this hour, with people placing flowers, balloons, and candles at the Carter Center to honor the 39th president who left a significant impact to his community. The Carter Center says instead of sending flowers, you can make a donation to the center. The skies across many parts of the globe decorated with celebratory fireworks today as several countries welcome the new year. From the Chao Phraya River of Thailand to Sydney Harbor of Australia, the world is showing off some spectacular displays all evening as millions gather together to ring in 2025. Back here at home, if you're looking for a New Year's Eve plan, the city of Austin has no shortage of options for you. Austin's New Year is a free event kicking off at 7 tonight at Auditorium Shores. CNN's Sarah Sidner, Harry Enton, and Carrie Champion will host the city's countdown as part of CNN's New Year's Eve Live with Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen. The night of entertainment will feature a headline performance from Third Eye Blind, and you can enjoy some food trucks, beverage vendors, and a fireworks show at midnight. Tonight on KXAN News at 10 o'clock, a look at how the city is working to ensure a safe night of celebration. Meanwhile, in New York, hundreds of thousands of people are expected to pack Times Square tonight to see the ball drop at midnight and welcome 2025. NBC's Emily Ikeda is in Times Square with a preview.
Hey there, well, it's the countdown to the final countdown before the 11,000-pound crystal ball will descend just behind me. It's part of a tradition that is older than 100 years here in Times Square that the world watches, and more than 1 million people will flood Times Square here to see it in person, capping off the second busiest year of tourism for New York City ever on record, according to officials. Now, to secure the area, the NYPD rolling out a sweeping security effort with concrete blockades parades, thousands of officers in and out of uniform, K-9 teams, their aviation unit, drones. Authorities say there are no specific threats to tonight's festivities, but they remain concerned about potential targeting of such a high-profile event, given geopolitical tensions and recent events, including a driver that plowed into crowds at a Christmas market in Germany earlier this month. Now, this morning, police are encouraging the public and people to stay alert, calling them their greatest force multiplier. You know the saying, see something, say something, to help bring in the new year safely. Back to you.
High temperatures today got to 69 degrees, way cooler than the 89 we had yesterday, but still above normal, which is 62. We've got a chillier day to begin the new year tomorrow, ahead of a warm-up, but all eyes on next week. We'll talk about why in First Warning Weather.
For the second year in a row, the Texas Longhorns will play on New Year's Day in the college football playoff. Roger Wallace joins us now from Atlanta as the team finishes final preparations ahead of the Peach Bowl. Roger.
Hi, good evening, Jennifer. That's right. Of course, last year it was just 2 rounds, the semifinals and the finals. This year, Longhorns trying to get back to the semifinals as they take on Arizona State tomorrow in Atlanta, where they lost the SEC title game. Today, not a big day of work for the Longhorns. 2 head coaches, as they customarily do, the day before a bowl game, get together. Steve Sarkisian, Kenny Dillingham, Arizona State, that amazing turnaround from 3 wins last year to a Big 12 title for Texas. Well, it's keeping the train on the tracks. A playoff last year, a playoff this year. But remember, when Sark got here, it was a 5-win season that had some people scratching their head.
Staying true to the belief, I think, is critical, but I also think being adaptable to the times for us. When we started, there was no transfer portal, there was no NIL, and along this journey in 4 years, college football has changed a ton, and I think being adaptable to the times, I think for ASU, same thing, like adapting to what college football is now and not sitting around complaining about it. And I think the 2 of us have been guys that have been on the forefront of, here's the rules, let's maximize the opportunities that we have to enhance our roster, to enhance our level of play, to put the best team out there that we can. And so, but yeah, it's definitely a journey. You know, nobody likes to lose, especially in Austin.
Yeah, Sark acknowledging the pressure cooker that he walked into, and now he seems to have this thing rolling pretty well. Heavy favorites over Arizona State, but certainly a dangerous Sun Devil team with their star running back Cam Scatterbo, 6 former Longhorns on the roster, and a very confident quarterback in Sam Levitt. So should be interesting. We'll have a lot more tonight at 6 o'clock. Doesn't really have the bowl feel, guys, because it's a shorter week. It's not that traditional bowl, so it's not like fans are all over town going crazy, but Mercedes-Benz will be packed tomorrow. Jennifer, Nick?
All right, Roger, thank you so much. You see the
festive.
I know it is. You see the wind blowing there. I looked up the temperatures in Atlanta, a little cooler than it is here now, but tonight we might rival them when it comes to temperatures.
We'll be down in the 40s, I think, as we head into a brand new year, and some 30s to start us off here tomorrow morning. Let's talk about what's happening outside right now, because the big impact of the day today was that cold front that came through overnight early this morning that drove in all that chillier air from the north, and we're still getting a northerly breeze now as that cold front is well to our south. So we're down to 65 in Austin. That's still above normal for this time of year, but much closer to normal than we were yesterday when we were near 90. Then we go into the evening. A lot of the evening will, at least the first part of the evening, will be in the 50s. But as we get closer to midnight, start seeing more of us falling into the 40s. There could even be some spotty 30s in the hill country by midnight tonight. And then these numbers will keep going down. We expect low 40s in the metro, low 40s and upper 30s to begin your morning tomorrow in our eastern counties, but widespread 30s to start off your Wednesday and to start the new year. In the hill country, there could even be some spotty freezes there too. By 10 in the morning, upper 40s and low 50s. Plenty of sun through the day should get us into the upper 50s and low 60s. Tomorrow will be cooler than today, not just in the morning, but in the afternoon, even with plenty of sunshine. And then as we head into tomorrow night, early Thursday, temperatures are going to do something interesting. They will fall at first down to about 45 in Austin, some 30s in the hill country. But then as warmer air starts to arrive before the sun comes up, the numbers will actually climb before dawn. before we see any sunshine. So our overnight low Wednesday night to Thursday will happen super early, and then the numbers will start to rise as we head through your Thursday back into the low, even mid-60s Thursday afternoon. On clouds and radar, still clear overhead, but we've got some high clouds off to the west of us. Those will start to arrive as we head through the day tomorrow. Still a lot of sunshine for your Wednesday. And then see these low clouds well to our south. Wednesday afternoon, these will creep in Wednesday night and Thursday morning, giving us a mostly cloudy Thursday morning, even some sprinkles and drizzle. It may take some time before the clouds start to break, but the potential exists at least for a little bit of late day sun on Thursday. But for those of you heading outside this evening to ring in the new year, 10 o'clock, clear skies, 50, upper 40s. I'd bundle up here tonight. At midnight, 48. Even a little bit of a light wind will make it feel colder than this. 46 for those of you still up and outside at 2 in the morning. We'll get down to 40 in Austin under the clear skies, but just watch out for the patchy freezes in spots mostly in the hill country. What about the first day of the new year? Plenty of sun, but some high clouds late in the day tomorrow and a high of just 61. And then the numbers mostly climbing as we head into the weekend, but still generally in the 60s here through Saturday. Overnight lows will climb as well, so tomorrow morning should be our coldest morning through the weekend. But then bigger changes come next week. We first warned you about this yesterday, that late Sunday cold front. Ahead of it, mid-70s. Behind it, we drop into the low 50s on Monday. We're down to freezing in Austin Tuesday morning. That would be our first freeze in Austin at Camp Mabry since last winter. We haven't had one the last few months. 49 the high next Tuesday, and it's still possible that later next week it's possible for some wintry precipitation, although certainly far from a guarantee. We've got more on our blog at KXAN.com.
As the year comes to a close, so too does the current session of Congress. But looking back, many Americans are left asking the same thing about the 118th Congress. Did they really do anything? The outgoing Congress enacted 209 bills into law over the course of the last 2 years. That's according to data from the National Archives. So that's down from more than 350 in the last Congress, making the 118th Congress the least productive in more than 30 years. Partisan battles between the Republican-controlled House and Democratic Senate and White House fueled a lot of the gridlock, and now some Republican lawmakers are warning House Speaker Mike Johnson and the rest of the GOP to work across the aisle and not hand control over to the party's right-wing base.
I think we still got to govern from the center to the right and not just from the far right, because the fact is you're not going to get those votes in the House or Senate if you try to govern that way. I heard a couple times this week, we get 100%, the Democrats are going to get 0. It doesn't work that way. James Madison designed a system that forces a consensus building, and so you can't just govern from an extreme position.
Congress is gearing up for the new session. Republicans will control both chambers and the White House, but there are lingering questions on whether the GOP can form a unified front moving forward. TSA agents performed nearly 1 billion screenings in 2024. The TSA says they screened more than 900 million individuals at airport security checkpoints this year. That includes a record-breaking holiday travel period, which saw roughly 40 million people go through security checkpoints in the last 2 weeks. The 900 million screenings in 2024 amount to about 5% more than the 858 million seen in all of 2023. Coming up on KXAN, it's St. Denis Medical at 7 and an episode of Night Court. That's at 7:30. Then at 8 o'clock, it's a toast to 2024 with Hoda Kotb and Jenna Bush Hager. Before we're back with you for KXAN News at 10 o'clock.